And Tim Cook called me up directly, and he did it himself, didn't have to pay 10 cents, and I gave him 100% of what he wanted, because he was right. I mean, you can't compete with Samsung, and one's paying a tax. But I said, you got to gradually move your company here. But then 3 hours ago, he called me. He said, I'd like to talk to you about something. What? He said, the European Union has just fined us $15 billion. I said, that's a lot. I know the feeling because I get fined too in fake cases. But I don't know if his case is fake yet, but it's a lot. Then on top of that, they got fined by the European Union another $2 billion. So he's a $17 to $18 billion fine. I even said about Apple, can you pay that? I mean, do you have that guy? That's a lot of money. And he said something that was interesting. He said they're using that to run their enterprise, meaning Europe is their enterprise. And I said, that's a lot. I said, but Tim, I got to get elected first. But I'm not going to let them take advantage of our companies. That won't, be happening.
Go to the US and talk about this interview today. It was staggering to see. No matter, you could have asked Kamala Harris about life on Mars, and she would have got the answer somehow back to Donald Trump. Let's have a look.
Rhetoric that has come out of Donald Trump. Donald Trump has been running for office. If you listen to Donald Trump, rhetoric coming from Donald Trump being a threat. Donald Trump is on the ballot. Let's go back to Donald Trump. I think the American people have a concern about Donald Trump.
She's going to be waking up in the middle of the night, Tim, screaming Donald Trump.
Well, she's just been done for plagiarism. Turns out she lifted a bunch of stuff from a book in 2009 straight from Wikipedia. So she copies a lot. And also, like, maybe Donald Trump's got a sort of some form of plagiarism claim for the amount of content he filled up in that interview there. He's not even around and he's still being name-checked by Kamala. By the way, an interesting sort of thing, if you ever Google Kamala Harris speech, it's almost inevitable. It's about 100% match that search will also include the phrase train wreck, because her speech or interview, because just about every time she starts chatting to people, it goes wildly off the rails. You just wouldn't book a train ticket in the US if you had the same rate of train crashes as her conversations.
She is pretty incredible to watch, Mark. I'm constantly staggered by what comes out of her mouth, and this is no matter who she interviews, the soft interviews or the hard interviews, it's all bad for her because it always ends in mush.
Yeah, you're right. Because she's a bad politician.
Go ahead, Mark.
She's a bad politician and a bad candidate, of course. You're right, 100%, lads. But I've got to say, I actually prefer this Kamala. I think it's a little bit more authentic. I think she actually does better in these adversarial interviews. Do you know what I mean? I think it's the meandering ones where she starts talking about America and inspiration and growing up in a middle-class family. There's no highlight reel to this. At least this is a violent train wreck to watch. At least it's somewhat entertaining, and I think it's a little bit more fun.
Exactly.
She's a prosecutor. This is what she does.
She shows a bit of fight in this, at least. You're right. If she sits there talking to Oprah Winfrey for an hour, it's the whole country's deflated. Talking about bad politicians, have a look at the Liberal leader of the ACT, Elizabeth Lee. She doesn't like this journo.
Are you finished?
I am. Answer the question.
Are you finished or not? I will answer the question in my own way, Ian. You don't get to dictate how I answer the question.
Okay.
Thanks.
I love the way we have to blur out the gesture she made towards him, Tim. I don't think it was a thumbs up.
Yeah, I think it was like, maybe it was maybe pinky swear. Who knows? But she did get into a bit of strife there. But what is it with Canberra where like even the Libs are kind of bolshy and unpleasant and kooky? It's got to be something that's wrong with the place. I mean, you spent, I think you got time off for good behaviour in the end, Chris. But you spent you did a couple of stretches in the ACT crazy house. Is that the sort of behaviour that's routine there?
I said normally when I give someone the finger, I want them to see it. You don't do it to their back. You don't do it to their back. Just quickly, Mark, we've got time to have a look at this. You like to think you live in the arts capital of the world there in Melbourne. I know. What do you make of this statue that's popped up on a suburban Melbourne street? Surely this has got some artistic merit. Ray gun.
Oh, mate. See, the thing is, it looks dumb when you look at it. Just like the Olympic performance, it looks quite dumb when you look at it. But unlike the Olympic performance, the more you look at it, the more impressive it gets. It's like, look at the balance. It's gone into the ground. It's actually, the paper mache is good quality. Someone in Northcote's got a lot of time on their hands. I reckon the King and Queen should go and visit that, I reckon.
It's great stuff. Yeah, it'll probably be there for the royal visit. Thanks for joining us, Tim and Mark. Have a great weekend. We'll catch you next week.